What if the reason your prayers haven't been answered is not because God is silent, not because you are unworthy, and not because your desires aren't meant for you, but because of the way you were taught to pray? What if the silence you keep hearing is not punishment, but reflection, a mirror of the vibration you are actually sending out? You've asked, you've fasted, you've cried, you've lit candles, you've repeated words over and over, but still the universe does not move. And in that silence, you've wondered if maybe heaven has forgotten you. But the truth is far deeper, and once you understand it, you will never look at prayer the same way again. The hidden wisdom of the ancients reveals something powerful. Prayer was never meant to be begging. It was never meant to be a ritual of pleading, hoping that if you repeat the right words enough times, God will finally say yes. The truth is, the universe does not respond to repetition. It responds to vibration. And vibration does not come from your lips. It comes from your being. It comes from your alignment of thought, feeling, and word. This is the secret Thoth and the initiates preserved for centuries. Prayer is vibrational science. It is not about convincing God. It is about becoming someone who already vibrates as though the prayer has been answered. Think about it. Outwardly, people pray for abundance, but inwardly they feel scarcity. Outwardly, they say, I am loved, but inside they still feel abandoned. Outwardly, they affirm healing, but inside their body trembles with fear. That contradiction is the real reason prayers fail, because the field does not respond to the sound of your words. It responds to the frequency of your state. You may declare with your mouth, I am ready, but if your body carries guilt, shame, or anxiety, that is the vibration the universe mirrors back. This is why repeating affirmations or rituals without true alignment is like trying to start a fire with soaked wood. The intention is there, but the spark cannot catch. Instead of flame, you get smoke. And this is what many modern prayers have become. Smoke without fire, noise without power. Imagine an arrow placed carefully on a bow. It looks aligned, but if the string has no tension, the arrow will not fly. That's what happens when you pray without coherence between your thoughts, your emotions, and your words. The arrow of your intention falls short before it even leaves your hand. But the ancients understood something we have forgotten. They knew that sound is not just communication, it is creation. In ancient Egypt, the papyrus of Ani describes how the gods created by pronouncing the secret names of things. To name something was to bring it into being. The word was not used to describe reality. It was used to generate reality. This truth echoes through Scripture. In the beginning was the Word. Creation began with vibration. The universe itself was born from sound. And when prayer lost its vibrational essence and became ritual obligation and guilt, the word lost its soul. And when the word lost its soul, it lost its power. But this knowledge was never fully destroyed. It was hidden, passed in silence through temples, schools, and secret circles, waiting for the soul ready to remember. And if you are hearing this now, perhaps your soul is ready, because the truth cannot be forgotten once it awakens in you. The universe responds not to begging, but to coherence. Everything outside of you reflects what vibrates inside of you. And that inner vibration is formed by a triad: thought, emotion, and word. It begins with thought, not scattered daydreams, but clear, Intentional thought born from the soul's desire, not the ego's fear. This thought is a seed, but every seed needs water, and that water is emotion. Thought without emotion is lifeless. You cannot imagine abundance while vibrating fear. You cannot visualize healing while drowning in despair. You cannot declare love while carrying abandonment. True emotion is not about longing. It is about resonance. It is the feeling of already being what you declare. It is embodying your desire as if it has already happened. When thought and emotion align, the field begins to pulse with strength. Then comes the word. The word is the release of that alignment into sound. Not begging, not hoping, not rehearsed phrases. The word, when spoken in alignment, is a command. It is a declaration of presence. It does not describe, it activates. It does not ask, it generates. It carries the impulse of thought and the power of emotion outward into the field, and the field responds. And this is the mystery. The silence you thought was rejection has only ever been reflection. The universe was never ignoring you. It was mirroring the vibration you sent. If your words said one thing but your vibration said another, the vibration always won. The universe always obeys the true frequency. That is why you can no longer pray as one who lacks. You must pray as one who already is. Stop asking as if you don't have. Start declaring as if it is already yours. Speak not from need, but from embodiment. Think, feel, and declare as one whose prayer has already been fulfilled. That is the state where the universe bends. And here is the shift. Prayer is not about repeating words. It is about becoming a vibration. It is not about saying what you want. It is about embodying what you are. When thought, feeling, and word move together in coherence, the field has no choice but to respond. Creation itself is built on this tripod. When the alignment is there, the invisible takes form. When the coherence is broken, the prayer dissolves like smoke. This is why what you thought was silence was never silence at all. It was feedback. It was the mirror showing you what you were really vibrating. The unanswered prayer was not unanswered. It was answered in the exact vibration you carried. The field does not lie. Vibration does not lie. And now that you know this, you cannot go back to the old way. Because once you understand that prayer is alignment, once you embody it as vibration, once you speak not as one who begs, but as one who is, your words stop being smoke. They become fire. They stop dissolving. They manifest. They move the unseen. They create. So I ask you again, what if prayer was never about convincing God, but about convincing your own vibration to align? What if the silence you feared was not silence at all, but the universe waiting for you to step into the frequency of already being? And what if the moment you do, nothing can remain the same? Everything begins with a single idea, not just a thought floating in the mind, but one that is felt in the body and expressed through the heart. This is the foundation of creation, the hidden structure behind how reality responds to you. When thought, feeling, and word come into alignment, they form a vibration so distinct that the universe cannot ignore it. It becomes a signal, an energetic signature, and once released, it begins to attract its reflection in the outer world. But this alignment is not random. It does not come by accident. It requires you to be fully present, to live in inner truth, and to surrender in ways that most people have never dared. For the triad to work, thought, emotion, and word, you must step out of the fragmented, restless mind and into a very specific state, a state that activates the true field of manifestation. It is in this state that creation begins. It is in this state that the universe leans forward and says yes. When thought, emotion, and word align, the field responds. It does not respond because you begged loudly enough, nor because you insisted until your voice broke. It responds because you touched the frequency of the only state the universe recognizes as truth, the vibration of someone who has already received. That is the forgotten key, the hidden turning point, the watershed moment that changes everything. Real manifestation does not happen when you burn with desire for something you do not yet have. Desire on its own keeps you in a loop of lack. Manifestation takes root when you embody certainty, when you vibrate with the knowing that it already belongs to you, when you think, feel, and act as though it has already happened. Reality reorganizes, not as a reward for your effort, but as a natural reflection of your state of being. This is why so many people struggle endlessly. They wait for the world to change before they allow themselves to feel different inside. They wait for love before they feel worthy, for money before they feel abundant, for healing before they feel whole. But that is the order in reverse. The field does not respond to absence. It responds to fulfillment. It mirrors the end state, the energy of already having. When you vibrate as though it is done, reality echoes back to you that doneness. When you vibrate as though it is missing, reality echoes back that lack. Living as if it is already true is not a game of pretending. It is not about forcing affirmations or repeating words like a spell. It is about finding the real feeling of fulfillment, the feeling of already being there, and stepping with your whole being into the energy of already is. And when you step into that vibration, things begin to move. The field reshapes itself around you. People appear who carry answers. Opportunities unfold in front of you. Doors that were once closed swing open. Not because of luck, not by coincidence, but because your vibration summoned them. You stopped asking and started declaring. You stopped wishing and started being. But there is a cost to this state, not a physical cost, not even an emotional one. It is the cost of identity. To vibrate as someone who already has it, you must let go of the self who never did. And this is where the battle begins, because the ego will resist. The ego has grown comfortable even in pain. To the ego, the known, however broken, still feels safer than the unknown. So when you step into the new, the ego whispers doubt. It cries out, what if this is just a trick? What if I'm lying to myself? What if I fail again? These voices are not the voice of truth. They are the voice of an identity that senses its death approaching. Because once you reach the state of vibrational certainty, the old self cannot survive. Old patterns collapse. Old stories lose their power. The false roles and masks you wore begin to fall away. This is where you encounter the death that is not physical, but symbolic. The death of the self who begs, who pleads, who prays like someone desperate. That self must die, because the frequency of fulfillment cannot coexist with the vibration of lack. Metaphysical prayer cannot live in the house of desperation. As long as that fragment of you survives, as long as you position yourself as a beggar of the invisible, the field remains closed, not as punishment, but by resonance. The universe cannot respond to contradiction. To manifest consciously, you must let that self fall away. The self that waits for favors from life. The self shaped by trauma, by religion, by generations of survival. This self is only a role you learned. It is not who you are. And here is where the ancient teaching comes alive. Unless you are born again, you will not see the kingdom. These words were never about religion. They were about vibration. Rebirth means identity must shift. It is not the body that is reborn, but the frequency. The energy of lack cannot be carried into the state of abundance. These vibrations cannot share the same home. What holds manifestation back is not the absence of what you want. It is the weight of who you still think you are. This old identity does not dissolve by thought alone. It dies through refusal. It dies each time you refuse to feed the same emotions. It dies when you stop repeating the same thoughts. It dies when you choose a new action instead of the old reaction. And every time you choose differently, the new self, the one who already is, takes root. This death is quiet, often uncomfortable. There are no applause for it. No promises accompany it. It comes with emptiness, a hollow space between the self that has died and the self not yet fully born. But in that emptiness, truth begins to emerge. In that vibrational void, a new door reveals itself, a door that has always been inside you but hidden behind the mask of who you thought you were. This doorway is what the ancients called the secret room. But it is not a room you can find on a map. It is not built of stone or hidden in the desert. It is a state of consciousness so pure that you only enter it when you release the external world's grip on you. It opens when the mental noise stops, when the opinions of others no longer reach you, when doubt finds no echo inside. The phrase, "Enter your room and close the door," was never about walls or windows. It was about withdrawing attention from what is visible, closing off the influence of what is outside, and turning inward to the unseen. To close the door is not to hide from life, but to silence its interference with your vibration. In this state, you no longer react to reality as it is. You begin to shape reality as it can be. Here, prayer transforms. It is no longer something you do. It becomes who you are. You no longer ask, no longer beg, no longer analyze. You simply exist in fullness. And in that fullness, the entire universe aligns with you. Not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped standing in your own way. But even here, there is a trap so subtle that millions fall into it without realizing. It is the trap of repetition without soul. How often have you repeated affirmations, requests, mantras, thinking the sheer number of words would open the door? But the truth is, the universe does not respond to how many times you speak. It responds to the vibration behind the word. One statement spoken in true alignment carries more power than 1,000 phrases whispered in fear. Sound alone does not move reality. Vibration does. The mouth expresses, but the field decides. And if your inner field contradicts your words, the field prevails. That is why so many remain stuck. They say the right things, but live the wrong frequency. They use words as formulas, instead of as reflections of what is already alive inside them. The difference between sound and frequency is this. Sound can be memorized, but frequency cannot. Frequency is built with emotion, intention, and inner truth. The next step is not about speaking better or thinking more positively. It is about becoming. From this point forward, your entire life must become prayer. Not prayer as asking, but prayer as being. Every gesture, every choice, every word must carry the energy of someone who already has what they desire. Life becomes a living declaration. If you claim abundance but live from fear, the field mirrors fear. If you ask for love but treat yourself with disregard, the universe echoes that disregard. The field does not reward you with what you want, it reflects what you are. To live as though it is already here is not pretending. It is aligning. It is remembering. It is choosing each moment to embody the reality you desire until it no longer feels like desire at all, but memory. And when you reach that point, the outer world cannot help but shift. The universe has no choice but to echo back what you have already become. Vibration does not respond to the words that come from your lips. It responds to the energy that comes from your being. Life listens more to your presence than to your promises. That is why you must begin with something simple, something that cannot be faked, your very presence. Notice the way you walk into a room, the way your shoulders carry your story, the way your eyes meet the world. Every step you take is already saying something long before you speak. Do you walk as if you belong, or as if you are searching for permission? Do you hold yourself with dignity, or do you shrink to be unseen? Does your voice tremble with uncertainty, or does it flow from a place of honesty? Real manifestation begins not with the words of your mouth, but with the language of your body. When your posture communicates confidence, when your breath is steady, when your expression radiates peace, the space around you begins to shift. Energy organizes itself around stillness, around truth, around the one who does not need to prove. From that foundation, your voice emerges, not just any voice, but the voice of certainty. Speak not of what you are trying to do, but of what already is. Say, "It is done," rather than, "I am going to try." Say, "I am," rather than, "I hope." This is not self-deception. It is vibrational alignment. It is stepping into the reality of already. Words that come from this place do not just describe a thing, they create it. When you speak with coherence, your words are not empty sounds in the air. They are commands that life itself bends toward. But manifestation is not only about body and voice. The space around you holds memory and carries frequency. Your home, your clothes, the objects you choose to keep all broadcast vibration. Each thing either anchors you in the past or carries you forward into the future you are building. That is why you must arrange your environment as if you already live inside the reality you prayed for. Dress not as someone waiting, but as someone who has arrived. Walk through your home as if it is a temple that reflects the life you claim. Even the smallest details, the color you wear, the objects you keep, the way you set your table, become silent affirmations. They either keep you longing or they help you embody. When your outer world matches your inner declaration, alignment deepens. This is living prayer, where everything around you becomes a testimony that you are not waiting for your future. You are sustaining it. When this alignment holds, something begins to happen that feels like grace, but is actually law. Reality starts leaning toward you. Circumstances organize. Opportunities surface. People appear, and timing aligns. Not because of luck, not because of chance, but because vibration always matches with its own. The universe is not personal in this. It simply echoes back the strongest frequency it receives. And when your frequency is steady, clear, and already complete, life cannot help but respond. Yet before you believe you have mastered the process, there is one final key, one that is greater than all the rest. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be manipulated. It does not answer to ego or to the clock. It only answers to the spirit. This key is true gratitude. Gratitude is not thanking in hope. It is thanking in certainty. It is giving thanks not because you are desperate to receive, but because you know you already have. It is the calm of a heart that no longer needs proof, the steadiness of one who trusts timing without anxiety, without urgency. When you give thanks in this way, you step into the state that the ancients called the kingdom, the inner reality where outer reality bends. This is not magic. It is law. Life does not respond to what you merely wish for. It responds to what you vibrate as true in this moment. If you still feel separate from what you desire, you delay it, for separation creates resistance. But when you feel it as yours, when you live as though it has already come, when you breathe it into your cells and thank God for it with no rush and no fear, the world shifts quietly, without force, without fight. The unseen begins to move. Doors open, paths clear, and reality rearranges itself. The purpose of this practice is not to convince the divine to listen to you. The divine was never deaf. The purpose is to remember who you are, to remember that creation answers you not when you plead, but when you align, when your words rise from your being, when your declarations flow not from lack, but from fullness. Life does not only respond, it obeys. If this truth touches something in you deeper than words, seal it now by declaring, I declare it's already mine. That declaration is not a casual comment. It is a vibrational signature, your soul signing its command into the unseen. Every word written from this state is an act of creation. And if you feel called to help this message reach others who are searching for this frequency, you already know the way. For those who have stayed with this message until the end, understand this. You are not just listening, you are activating. You are aligning body, voice, space, and gratitude into one current. And when you do, you stop being a seeker of miracles and start living as their source. Reality bends not because you forced it, but because you became it. And from this place, nothing remains the same.